Hi, Robin with Oxy-Dry. And I'm in my garage, as you can see. My wife's little Matrix here. She loves her car. It's the first car she ever had that was new, and we bought that in 2008. It was actually 2009 model. It's got, what, 70,000 miles or something now on it? She doesn't drive it a whole lot, obviously, just around town. Really, really nice car. It's got the semi-automatic tranny in there, so it'll shift like a normal automatic, or you can manually shift it, which is pretty cool. And the low-profile tires are really sporty, and 2.4 motor or 2.3, I can't remember now. 146 horses. It's a pretty sporty little car, actually. They're a nice car. And in all the time that we've had it, we've replaced the battery and the front brakes and the oil pan gasket. That's it. And I think actually it feels like it's maybe due for a front end alignment now. It's kind of feeling a bit funny with the steering lately. So anyway, for that many years and that many miles, that's well, it's a Toyota for you. Anyway, I wasn't here to talk about that. I was here to talk about rotary machines again. And before I get into the rotary and how to, this is going to be about how to apply your solution with the shower feed system, which is basically a tank with a valve on it, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. But I did want to just touch base on a video that came up in my feed last night of an individual who puts out a lot of videos, and in the video, the title of it was OP versus rotary, which is better, or something like that. I find it, I mean, I've seen a few of his videos over the years, and this particular individual does give some very bad advice, unfortunately, regarding the use of unsafe products, and I've talked about that in the past. But this video, I was kind of interested in what he would have to say about rotaries versus OP machines, because he's a OP all the way. He uses a Challenger, and that's what he pushes because he sells them, or at least is a dealer for them. He gets a kickback for his mention when someone buys one from Challenger, or goes through him or whatever. So he's got a bit of a vested interest there. But he did say a couple of things about rotaries which are absolutely false and ridiculous. But is one of these statements that perpetuates some myths about rotary machines. And for the last 7 or 8 years, I've been putting my videos up. And of course, I've been primarily about promoting the use of the rotary for in-home cleaning particularly. And I do have OPs, and I use them for commercial. There's my Orbitech sitting right over there, and I got my Orbot. It's right there. And, you know, I'm certainly not against OP machines, but for residential work, I will always argue that the rotary is a superior machine for many reasons. And I've done videos where I've explained my thoughts on that. So if you care to, you can go back in my archive of over 300 videos, and somewhere in there is a few videos where I address that and explain why I think that way. And I know more and more guys that have been using OPs are kind of swinging back to the swing machine. It's particularly for residential work, because as it turns out, there's a lot of reasons for that. But I just want to just point out a couple of things that this guy was saying which were absolutely false. First of all, he talked about the rotaries and said, he said basically he didn't know much about them, but as far as he thought, they were much heavier because they can be 150 to 175 pounds. Well, that was a jaw-drop moment, because I have never seen a 150-pound rotary machine, and if you had a 150-pound rotary machine, you couldn't even pick it up and put it in a van, for crying out loud. I mean, that's just a ridiculous thing to say. But anyway, this machine here is I'm not actually sure what brand this is. This is I had a machine many years ago that looked very similar to this, and it had the Kent brand name on it. But whether or not that's who actually makes it, I'm not sure. But it is a well-made, very solid, simple machine. This is a 2-speed machine. which is kind of nice. I just picked it up recently for a couple $100. It weighs about 70, I think it's about 77 pounds. So add the tank, another 5 pounds, or maybe a bit more than that. So 85 or somewhere around there, probably still under 90 pounds with a tank on it. And that's a very reasonable weight. It's not hard at all to pick up and carry. If I was going to be using it a lot more, I would put the big wheels on, but I don't expect I would ever use it in home. My intention would be to use this particular one, because it is 300 RPM. I would use it on occasional commercial work. That's about it, I expect. Because I've got 3 other of my MD 180s all set up and ready to roll. The other thing he said is he said that unlike the OP, which goes in many directions, the rotary machines only clean the carpet fiber from one direction. It just goes in one direction. Well, that's true. It is turning in one direction, but turning in one direction on the floor, which I did a video where I explained this, is 360 degrees. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure this out, because it's spinning around, say, this center point right here, which, maybe this is the carpet right here, but that's turning 360 degrees. And as you go over the carpet, it's going this direction on this side of the pad, and this direction on this side of the pad, this direction on this side of the pad, and that direction on the other side of the pad. As you go back and forth over the carpet, you certainly are getting the carpet from every direction. And that's another myth that's out there about that rotaries only clean the carpet fiber from one side. And one of the advantages of the way that this works is, rather than doing the jiggly motion across the carpet, particularly on the longer pile carpets, because you're able to come at it from one side and lay the fiber over and really scrub going in one direction consistently, and then it lays it over and goes from this side. You're able to get a much, in my opinion, from my experience, it will be more effective at removing the stains. That's what I found using the rotary. I've used my Orbot and my Orbitech wheels down and wheels up machine in houses, and the rotary is much more effective at getting out stains, as long as you start off with a fiber pad, because the fiber pad will remove the soil and stains literally in a few seconds. If you watch my videos, you've seen me do this many times, where I go over it first with a fiber pad and the stains just come out just like that. It's just so easy. And the thing about it is if you're using an orbital machine, if you're using a machine like a Challenger, which is a wheels up, if you're pushing that machine back and forth, that's 60 pounds or so, that every time you push it forward and then pull it back, that's 60 pounds plus the friction, the drag on the machine, that's going to be pulling at your arms and stressing your wrists, your elbows, and your shoulders. And not only that, as others have mentioned, you get that constant vibration going up your arms. And over the years of doing that, there will be an effect on your body, and that's a fact. Whereas the rotaries, they're just so smooth. So over the long run, a rotary is physically easier on you. And that's just a matter of fact. And as far as the fact that they never come with decent sized wheels on them. Well, I put out videos where I've shown how easy it is to just upgrade to 10-inch wheels with a simple bracket, and others are doing that too. Tim recently, just the other day, I did a video where he put wheels on his Noblest machine. Call it Noblest or Nobles, I don't know. Anyway, and that'll make it so much easier to move around and bump up and down steps and everything. But if you guys are wanting to go with the larger wheels, I do recommend you go 10-inch rather than 8-inch, because the 8-inch isn't quite big enough to go up and over the bullnose, as you will discover if you go with an 8-inch wheel. Whereas the 10-inch is just perfect. Just saying. But anyway, the reason I was going to post this video is because I've been getting a lot of inquiries and comments on how to apply the solution using the shower feed system, which of course this machine is. And the reason I'm using this machine rather than my regular one is my normal machine is a center feed, whereas this is the standard shower feed. We call it a shower feed because, well, that's what it's technically called, whereas my machine is actually not a shower feed in the true sense because it is actually center feed. So my machine is different. My machine, because of it being a belt drive, pardon me, it will actually feed right down through the center and into the pad right in the center here. But most of you guys, or very few of you guys, would have a machine that works that way. What you're going to have is a machine that will drop your solution onto the top of the drive pad, a drive block, or pad driver, and then as it is spinning, the like it will drop on this machine. It actually would drop in relation. Well, it's over here. It drops down on this side of this machine. So on the pad driver here, it would be dropping onto the pad driver about here, and as it's spinning, of course, it will be dropping through these holes, you see, and onto the top of the pad, and it'll soak down through the pad. It goes through fairly quickly, especially a fiber pad, actually, and some of it will actually spin out, and you'll see that in a minute. Now, if you're doing this right and you're not over-wetting this, the top of the pad will never actually get wet, whether it be a fiber pad or I've got a absorbent pad over here to show you that as well. So ideally, when you're using, whether it be an Ironman or this is a two-way actually, when you're using the shower feed with that, ideally you will never see the top of the pad actually getting wet, or very little wet, because it'll only be getting moisture from the bottom of the pad and drying up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to engage the machine onto the clutch and onto the pad driver, and then we'll take a look at how the solution comes out and up it goes onto the floor, and I'll show you how to gauge the right amount when you're cleaning carpets, because if you have never done this before, it takes a little bit of practice to get the hang of it, and the best way to do that is to find yourself some smooth concrete like I've got right here and practice a little bit and just get used to the idea of how much to apply as you go along, and you'll see what I mean as we go here. So now I know a lot of guys like to tip the machine back and put the dry block on, lean back, but when you've got a tank on the machine, that becomes a problem often, usually, but I never do that because, well, I just don't do that anymore because I don't need to. And as you see, what I do is I'm going to just drop the machine onto the drive pad, and it just engaged right there. You could see it drop down and it engaged. Just double check. Yep, it's right there. So now I'm going to lower the handle. Put it where I need to put it. I'll use my foot there to lock it. Now I'm just going to give it a blip. Okay, now it is engaged and ready to go. So as I turn the machine on, and I'll start applying the solution, and I'll explain as I go. But one thing I forgot to mention here is when you go to use the pad or the fiber pad or the absorbent pad, whether it be a two-way or an Ironman or whatever, or microfiber, whatever you choose, it is a good idea to at least give the area of the carpet where you're going to start, you either mist it down from a turkey sprayer with some spotter or whatever, just to get that damp a little bit. And by the way, one thing I never do is pre-soak my pads, because the absorbent pads, because you want to use them dry, and I'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, assuming that this is a carpet, and I'm ready to go. I've engaged. I sprayed the carpet a little bit, so I'm not starting on a dry carpet. So I'm going to turn it on. Okay, now you can see right away there's moisture coming out. Like I just pulled the trigger, And that is exactly, you see what's going on there? You can see there's actually quite a bit coming out, and I'm not pulling it, I'm not pulling the solution at all right now. Now it's on, now it's off. No, nothing is, I'm not pulling the trigger at all right now. Now it's on, now it's off. You can see there's actually a surprising amount of solution hitting the floor. I'm wondering if I'm going to clean my marks off the floor. I think I am. Now isn't that interesting how I'm on and off? That's it. Now every carpet will be different. On and off. You see there's actually a tremendous amount coming out. And see, as I go back now, there's a lot there. And I know some of you are looking at this and realizing that you're probably using a lot more than I am when you do this. No, we're gonna lift this up. So you can see that actually, it got pretty wet, and I hardly any solution came out of the tank at all. So I would suggest that you go into find a garage with a smooth floor. You can do this on linoleum as well, but just give it a try, and just to give yourself a little bit of practice so that you can visually see what's going on. Now let's switch over to the absorbent pad. And we'll see what happens with that. Now again, see, I just dropped it in place. And I'm going to lower the handle, lock that in place. And again, ideally, I would normally not get this pad wet, whether it be an Ironman or whatever, because if I'm going to go over an area where I pre-scrub with the fiber pad, it'll be wet enough normally. And in some cases, if I feel the machine bind as I'm going, I will then I will apply some solution, because it'll be running too dry. But I can feel it, because as the machine is running, when it starts to bind on the carpet, I can feel the machine wanting to pull against against the torque of the motor. I feel the handle kind of pull out of my hands, and then I know that I'm getting too much friction. So then I'll add some solution. Now, if you're doing a job where you're not doing the fiber pad and then the Ironman or two-way or microfiber, which there's many cases where you're going to be doing that, you can certainly do that anyway. Just go straight to the Ironman. In this case, I've got an absorbent pad under here, and this will be simulating doing the single step. Because remember, if I have already gone over it with the fiber pad, then when I go over it with the machine like this, the moisture there'll be enough moisture there. But I can actually feel this machine binding right now. It's just binding a little bit on this concrete because it's already almost dry. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over this area where I haven't gone over yet at all, and as if I was doing the single step with the absorbent pad, and I'll start applying the solution. You can feel it binding right now. I'm adding. Okay, now it feels better. Add, off, on, off. On, off. See, there's quite a lot comes out. On, off. On, off. On, off. So you can see that a lot of solution is actually getting onto the carpet in a matter of seconds. And I'm not adding any right now, by the way. I'll tell you when I turn it on. I'm just kind of working my way back a little bit. but it's wet enough there already. So I guess I cleaned my my little diagram off the concrete there with the hog's hair. But right here it's drier and I can feel it. Right now it is binding a little bit. I don't know if you can hear the motor slowing down a little bit. I can feel the motor is like it would be too dry. If I was on a carpet, I would definitely be adding. I'm not adding anything right now. You can see that the pad actually is still carrying moisture though, but there's not enough. So what I'll do is I'll add a bit of moisture, and I'll listen to the motor. I don't know if you can tell, but listen, I'll add now. I can feel it moving just a little bit easier. I'm not adding anything right now. I just added a bit there. So it's important to understand how much you're applying as you go, and find a place that you can practice this. And I'll shut off this is my safety valve. I put these on all my machines too. And I've said this before, but the reason I do that is because you could get something jammed in the valve in here and it not shut off completely. You don't realize it. You walk away from your machine or you store it somewhere and it dribbles out onto the floor. So really good idea, whenever you walk away from your machine for any length of time, hit that switch safety valve. Don't forget to turn it on again though. I've done that before. I'm wondering, why is this carpet not cleaning properly? We all make silly mistakes, right? Anyway, so that's my my little video on giving you guys some tips on how to apply using the shower feed system. I'm convinced this is a better way to go than if you were to get a machine that would spray. I know that there's guys that say you got to have the spray on the carpet and shower feed doesn't work, and on and on it goes. But I've been doing this shower feeding now for 26 years. It absolutely does work, and it gives you far better control. The reason I don't like the spray is because, first of all, you will end up inadvertently spraying against walls, onto pieces of furniture. You're also atomizing it into the air, whereas this certainly doesn't happen. And on certain carpets, the olefins in particular, when that spray is hitting the carpet, you actually can easily overwet the carpet. And I kind of talked about that on my video I just posted yesterday, where I was doing the tire store carpet, which was a commercial grade olefin carpet, and I explained why you want to be very careful how you apply your solution onto a carpet like that, because it's easy to overwet it and wash the soil into the backing, because those type of carpets do not absorb moisture. So the key is just keeping the pad damp, not soaking wet. And by the way, when you finish using your Iron Man pad or whatever pad you're using, microfiber pad, if you take that pad off the machine, ooh, look how dirty my floor was, eh? What a surprise. But when you take that pad off the machine, this is the top. It's wet here, a little bit. Not actually that wet, surprisingly, but it's bone dry. It's bone dry right here. And ideally, when you're using your pads, this is what you should be feeling. If you're feeding down, your shower feeding down, you will be wet out here. You should, if you're using it at the right amount of moisture, all in here should always remain dry. Down here, on the other side, of course, it'll be wet. And this, by the way, since there's nothing touching the carpet right here, because of the way the pad driver works, there's no pressure on the center of the pad. So this actually just kind of rides above the carpet. So this actually remains dry too. Interesting. But if you take your pad off and it's soaking wet, then you have applied too much moisture to the carpet. And one of the reasons why you want to be very careful about the amount of moisture you're putting on is if you want to do a post-vac as opposed to groom, which I prefer to do. I post-vac in virtually every case. I'm able to do that because I am so precise on applying just the right amount of moisture to clean the carpet without over-wetting it. And in most cases, I will post-vacuum the carpet rather than grooming the carpet. I find it physically easier than pushing a rake back and forth. And I like the look of it, plus a little bit extra vacuuming, and it just impresses the heck out of the customer. And I charge enough money that I can certainly take the time to do that, and it just works for me. I know that John Gurkink, who was, of course, the Trinity developer, was very much always pushing post-vacuuming with his system. And when I started with my machine way back 26 years ago now, I can't remember whether I actually, yeah, I think I did post-vac right away. But I remember at times that I definitely over-wetted the carpet. I remember my vacuum getting quite wet in the brush roll a few times, quite a few times over the years. And it took me a little while to get my technique down to where I have it now, where I really, I've got it dialed in. And it partly, maybe a lot of it has just got to do with almost instinct now, after doing it for so many years. But go find yourself a smooth concrete floor and you just give it a try, because then you can actually see exactly what's going on the concrete and gauge accordingly. You'll be surprised how, if you're doing shower feeding and you're finding the carpet is, pretty wet afterwards, and when you do it on the concrete floor and you realize how much you're actually putting down, you'll probably be surprised at how much less you can get away with using and still get a very clean and effective cleaning job, that is. So anyway, I hope that'll help out you guys that are wanting to get the hang of shower feeding. Well, let's keep on improving this whole way of doing things, and enjoy your rotary machines, because they will outlast any other machine, and they're pretty inexpensive to buy, and they're easy to use, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. They're coming back into popularity because more and more people are realizing it. Tim Yeater, he agrees with me, and there's lots of other guys that have been discovering. What was it, Glenn, who has a Challenger machine? Just the other day, he posted that he finally took the Challenger out of the machine. It was beating him up. As I say, you use those machines all day long. They're gonna really the vibration will get to you, especially if you hit a Berber type carpet and especially the heavy lug ones. And there's certain cut pile olefins and some of the low pile nylons that it really is quite physically hard on the body. They just don't want to go in certain directions on certain carpets, whereas the rotary, they're just so smooth, so easy, physically easier, consistent, and it's just a matter of learning how to properly use the machine. And I think one of the most important parts of really getting the best and the most you can out of your rotary is learning how to use your tank, use your shower feed system, and it's just so much easier. And when I go into a house, I don't take a pre-spray can. I don't take a pump-up sprayer. I haven't done that in years and years and years. I just carry a few different trigger sprayers with a few different things in it, and if there's a high traffic area, maybe I'll spray it with a trigger sprayer, and that's all I need. It's all you need. It's just so simple, so easy. If you watch my videos, you'll see that everything I do is it's just simple, and that's all we need. So hopefully that'll help you guys out, and let's keep learning together and sharing together, and tell me your experiences and your thoughts. Let's have your comments. And I've never done this before, and I actually mentioned this to my wife the other day. I actually have, yesterday I looked and I have 599 subscribers. I've never actually asked anybody to subscribe to me. It's just, I don't know, just what I've I just haven't done it. But if you're if you're regular to coming to my videos and watching them, welcome. I mean, glad you're here and doing that. But subscribe to me. Yeah, why not? Then you won't miss anything, because I don't just talk about rotaries. If you go back in my archives, I've got things on vacuums and lots of other things. Last week I had my little adventure in the woods where anyway, I do other things too, so it's just not all about carpets and rotaries. And I do talk about OPs, and I have commercial videos where I show me using both my Orbitech and my Orbot as well. So, and upholstery cleaning, my Von Schroeder machine, which I've been using for years. I've got the E600 sitting over here, and then I've got the little Ultimate PB3 recently, and that's been an very interesting machine to use. So, and of course I go into mechanical kind of things too. So hopefully, you guys are all learning, and I'm entertaining you a little bit. And let's all learn together and have fun, and have a great day. Thank you for watching.